Okay, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, start a higher praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Krakudas. Double honors to the elders, sing honors to the apostles, preaching and teaching. This word of truth and with sincerity as always. And without any further ado, I'm just going to get into this lesson here. So we're going to get into this video going into the Third War. A lot is going on with this Third World War. When I went into this the other day, on Monday, this was on February 15th, 2026. I went into that and spoke on that on Monday. Or Sunday, this was on Sunday. But the video that on the screen came out Saturday. And today's the 20th, Friday, February 20, 2026, anyway, it says right there, NATO's shocking poll. This is nations' doubt over U.S. ability to deter global enemies amid security concerns. Yes, I went a bit into how that was going into how NATO is breaking up its relations, confidence with the U.S., America, and then I got Revelation 17 and 16 for that. If you're looking at the screen and not being lazy, obviously it says right there, NATO's shocking poll. Nations doubt over U.S. ability to deter global enemies and security concerns. So basically, transatlantic trust eroding as U.S. seen less dependable. That's really increasing. The United States standing among its NATO allies appears to be weakening, prompting renewed concerns about Washington's global influence in the international order it has upheld for decades. God. That's really the point on that. NATO's falling apart. You got this Iran situation. Went into how NATO and the U.S. are still rehearsing long-range fires in a high-intensity conflict, drawing on lessons from Ukraine. The leaders describe a battlefield where waves of drones, missiles, and artillery could generate targets faster. And then I went a bit into this other article going into how Russia is how Russia is basically hard, the hardest going in. Then I went into this article that's going into how analysis says Israel likely destroyed around 1/3 of Iranian launchers in the 12-day war of Israel. And then Iranian officials said missile capabilities have since been restored. So it's going into how Iran has had some of its missiles destroyed, but already has restored them. Probably built even more. And also going into how NATO, Germany specifically, is calling America weak. Looking at America, more NATO looking at America as weak now. The relationship has been deteriorated since Trump. I'll just look up how is Trump's relations with the NATO nations right now. AI overview. As of February 2026, President Trump's relations with NATO are defined by intense pressure, transactional demands, and a push for European self reliance. The Trump administration is pressing allies to increase defense spending to 5% of GDP, threatening to reduce U.S. commitments and scaling back foreign missions, causing significant strain and diminishing trust. Yeah, that's exactly what's been making NATO looking at America sideways. Restructuring missions. The U.S. is pushing to end specific NATO missions in Iraq and scale down operations in Kosovo, forcing a major reset of alliance priorities. And strained trust relations are considered at their lowest point in NATO history, with European allies actively de-risking by diversifying trade, technology, and defense procurement away from the U.S. Yeah, the U.S. doesn't have the money. They don't have any more that money. I remember Joe Biden, he was talking about they may not have enough more money to keep giving to Ukraine. And when Joe Biden was president, he was giving a whole bunch of money to Ukraine, and now left Trump to for this weak economy. Hence why prices are rising. Hence why he had to bring the tariffs, and then really the tariffs they may help a little bit, but it's just gonna make shit worse, make it all this worse, which is what these elites want them to come with anyways. So this is Revelation 17 and 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, thee shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. And so that's what's happening right now with America and its relations with U.S. Oh yeah, and I remember I also got talked about this other article going into how China's, I forgot. I think it was their navy. What's China's navy? I'll ask AI here. Chinese Navy is the People's Liberation Army Navy, or in the brief acronym is the acronym for it. It's Plan, or PLA. Yeah, Navy is basically the submarine forces, coastal ships, forces, Marine Corps, Naval Air Force, all that stuff. And last week as well, U.S. sent another ship carrier ship near Iran. Yeah, when I looked that up last time, it said as of February 2026, NATO-U.S. relations are experiencing significant strain and reduced trust, described as a loveless marriage, because of once again Trump's aggressive rhetoric and demands for European self-defenses. Once again, because of that. Yeah, specifically, going back to NATO, not wanting America, not trusting in America. Specifically, though, those NATO countries I'm talking about is UK, France, Germany, and other mores they didn't mention. Describe the U.S. as an unreliable ally. Yep. But meanwhile, they're still working together, though. NATO and U.S. are still working together over there near Russia. Poland is close to Russia, if I'm not mistaken. So especially over there, if U.S. is still helping in allegiance with them, so because of the Russian threats, they're preparing for war over there. WW3 and 9 to 10. So I'm also just recapping. I want to also get some other newer articles that just came up. Something that recently came up. But let's focus on this right now. This is Joel 3 and 9 to 10. It says here, proclaiming this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. So they're preparing for war right now. This is going into the China-Taiwan situation as well. It's the title of this is from WSJ.com. U.S. arms sell to Taiwan in limbo amid pressure campaign from China. Some U.S. officials are worried that greenlighting the weapons deal would derail Trump's coming trip to Beijing. This is over here. A major U.S. arms sale package for Taiwan is in limbo following pressure from Chinese leader Xi concerns among some in the Trump administration that greenlighting the weapons deal would derail Trump's coming visit to Beijing. In a phone call earlier this month with Trump, Xi urged caution on U.S. arms sales to Taiwan. Yeah, which that wouldn't be wise. That wouldn't be wise because, see, America's already looking weak. You see, America's already looking weak. Trump ain't sending those weapons to Taiwan now because he's scared that would block his visit to China. Because once again, in a phone call, Xi urged caution to Trump not to sell U.S. arms to Taiwan because once again of the Taiwan-China situation right now, which I'm gonna ask AI right now about that. I'm wondering if that's still going on. So I'm gonna ask AI here: is Taiwan in defense against China? Is Taiwan still in defense against China? Let's see. Yes, Taiwan is actively maintaining its defense against China, focusing on an asymmetric or porcupine strategy to deter potential invasion. In 2026, this involves strengthening military readiness, integrating unmanned drones, and increasing defense spending while facing intensified Chinese military pressure. The U.S. continues to support Taiwan's defense, acting as its primary arms supplier.
Code of conduct for the South China Sea. That's all for today's China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Asia and the two countries have recently expanded.
This is Philippines balances U.S.-China relations.
Military cooperation. Last year, thousands of American and Filipino troops held one of their largest joint combat drills in years. It included live fire exercises aimed at deterring threats in the south.
Yeah, it was the Philippines and
Last year, thousands of American and Filipino troops held one of their
the American and Filipino training exercises they was doing. It's Philippines is next to. Got it on the map here. That's right near the Taiwan-China Strait. And if I'm not mistaken, Vietnam also was involved in that. The Vietnamese military were involved in the U.S. Philippines drills, military drills. They were exercises they were having because of the threats once again by China. China's posing a threat near that island. I want to believe that they're gonna take it soon, invade it. One of these days, they're gonna go ahead and invade that island.
The largest joint combat drills in years. It included live fire exercises aimed at deterring threats in the South China Sea. That's significant because the Philippines and China have clashed repeatedly in those disputed waters. The Philippines accuses China of dangerous maneuvers and water cannon attacks.
Philippines accuses China, so the Philippines is also under Chinese threat.
Meanwhile, China claims Philippine vessels are trespassing on its territory. Even so, the Philippines says what it would mean to China is that they're losing their grip on some of the things they've invested in over the years. They're specifically targeting Western nations in Europe and elsewhere to try to peel them away from us and create different coalitions of nations and peoples that would.
This is a U.S. colonel, by the way. However you say that shit, colonel. Talking about U.S. can rebuild a new Western century, whatever that means. I guess he's referring to a new golden age for America, reviving the new golden age for America, going back to World War II and how America won World War II by basically doing what no other nation was doing at the time, which was manufacturing, having the fastest manufacturing factories and people working to make these weapons and shit like that. These women and volunteering in the nursing as nurses, doctors, and they're in World War II. So they're at war. I'm just showing you there how at war they are, with how at war America is in right now.
Turn and make an enemy out of the United States, or at least a competitor out of the United States in a negative way. You've already seen some of that happen anyways, not necessarily purely with Western European nations turning away somewhat, but the effect of what's going on in Venezuela, what's already happened with the elections in Argentina, and they're watching very closely what could happen with elections in places like Brazil. So if this keeps going down the road where Western nations draw closer to each other and crawl further away from communist influence, regardless of its source, then the strength of China will continue to wane, as it has been for a while, just because of their economy is failing the way it is right now. Next, an update from approach to Europe and the Taiwan Strait. It comes as President Trump plans for a high-stakes visit to China in early April, where he's expected to meet with Chinese leader Xi Jinping.
This is 4 days ago on the 16th.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says Europe and the United States can build a new Western century against adversaries like China. A retired lieutenant colonel comments on that.
Yeah, that was his comments on that. And those are weak comments. I don't think he knows the privacy with what's at stake for America right now. Yeah, I'll get here with the scripture, Isaiah 10 and verse 13. For he saith, by the strength of my hand I have done it, and by my wisdom, for I am prudent. And I have removed the bounds of the people, and I have robbed their treasures, and I have put down the inhabitants like a valiant man. And this is what Esau has done. When you go into America, that's why America was the Edomites' place. It used to be their place to prosper and reign. It used to be a place where Edomites was prospering and oppressing their enemies, which are the Lord's chosen people. But now this place is going to shit. It's going down the drain. The Lord's bringing this judgment upon America. So this is Deuteronomy 28, that 28th chapter verse. This is verse 40. 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies in the land which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he has destroyed thee. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flies. A nation of life is a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. And that nation was America, the eagle there. Notice it says the eagle there. Back in the ancient world, it was the Roman Empire. And it's no coincidence that when America came up, they used the eagle again as their symbol. And it's to show you how prophetic it was and spiritual it was, because originally that Edomite devil was his name, Benjamin Franklin. He proposed the symbol to be I think it was a rooster, or a turkey or something. But then somebody said, "Nah, well, let's use the eagle instead." Then they used that as their symbol, as their the eagle. So that's just how spiritual it was. That's a spiritual symbol that the Lord gave to represent the Edomite nation, is the eagle. The eagle. When Columbus came, he came as the eagle to the Americas, a nation. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from far. That was from the other, from the end of the earth, from Europe down there, brought to South America. From the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce consonants which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. And that's how America really came to be, through oppression. America came up through oppression and robbery and murder and slavery against the so-called black man and the indigenous as well. You have the indigenous as well that were got oppressed, their land taken, and once again the South American Indians, Latinos, Northern Tribe, Mexican, Issacharites, Incas, Argentinians, Naphtali, Mayans, Guatemalans, the Zebulon, Iprum, the Taino Indians, so on and so forth. Hence why you got also have it on Obadiah, the same prophecies in Obadiah chapter 1, verse 6. How Esau will be ransacked, his hidden treasures pillaged. All your allies will force you to the border. That's going into NATO once again. They're gonna force Esau to the border. The border means I'll look it up. I'll ask AI here. So I said explain the phrase in Obadiah verse 7. This is to AI. That goes like, "Hey, all your allies will force you to the border." Yep, gone. And it says right here, the phrase "all your allies will force you to the border" means that the nations Edom trusted for security will betray them, turning against them to drive them out of their own territory. Yeah, the phrase "all your allies will force you to the border" means that the nations Edom, it's America today. Going back to Genesis 25, Genesis 27, means that the nations Edom trusted for security will betray them, turning against them to drive them out of their own territory. Yeah, that means force it to the border, meaning Esau is going to be driven out of his territory. These allies will change from partners. That's NATO. That's what NATO would fit that. This criteria here, whatever. These allies will change from partners into enemies, pushing Edom toward captivity or refusing aid, abandoning them as they are attacked. And that fits with Revelation 17 and 16 once again. So that's America for you. That's prophesied there as the eagle in Deuteronomy 28. I think it was around the 48th verse, 49th verse, and Obadiah verse around the 3rd verse, or in the 4th verse. Though thou you soar like the eagle and make your nest among the stars. How did the Esau make his nest among the stars? And that's the stars is also a metaphor for the 12 tribes of Israel. Going back to Exodus or Genesis, when Joseph had that dream and he dreamed of 12 stars, 11 stars were bowing down to him. That was the other tribes bowing down to the tribe of Ephraim, which represented Joseph. In that time, it was his brothers who basically hated on him and jealous of him and couldn't get along and shit, like us right now. That's why we're in this state we're in right now. From thence I will bring thee down, declares Yahweh Bashim Abshai Bashim Kirkadash Khan. So that's what that's going into. That's what that's going into. And then verse 6, oh, but how Esau is going into the so-called white man today. Once again, we got to say more of that. Esau is a so-called white man, will be ransacked, his hidden treasures pillaged. All your allies will force you to the border. Your friends will deceive and overpower you. That's NATO, the beast. Once again, going back to Revelation 17 and 16 mentions them, the NATO as the beast, and the beast as the 10 horns, and the beast shall betray the whore. The whore in that verse there represents America right there for you. Those who eat your bread will set a trap for you, but you will not detect it. But you will not detect it. Yep. So hey, whatever. Those who eat your bread will set a trap for you, but you will not detect it. Yep. And that's NATO right now. They're getting funded by the U.S. to get more weapons, to increase their military power. That's all America that's been funding that and sending them all that money to be able to defend themselves and order all these other tanks and weapons and guns and ships and tanks, drones. But that's what it says. Those who eat your bread, that's NATO, will set a trap for you, but you will not detect it. And that day declares the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Ashai, that I will not destroy the wise men of Edom, those of understanding in the mountains of Esau. God. Yeah, because this is going into Babylon today, who in this time was Nineveh. Subheading is Woe to Nineveh, and Nahum 3 and verse will start at 1. Woe to the bloody city, it is all full of lies and robbery, and that's America today. A bunch of degenerates, um, and immoral behavior, however you say it, unmoralized behavior out here, mind states out here in these people's mind states, all that. So it's full of, hence why it's full of lies and robbery. Its victims never departs. Its victim never departs. You know who's America's victim? Nineveh's victim today. That's America. That's the Latinos, natives, and Negroes today. Even though they're a lot of them are simple and stupid right now, but that's still pertains unto them right now. They're the victims. The noise of a whip and the noise of rattling of wheels. That's all the traffic, all the commerce they made. America has made. Esau has made off of oppressing the Lord's people. That's what this is going into in verse 2. The noise of the whip. The noise of the whip represents the bondage, the oppression. And the noise of the rattling of wheels, that's the traffic. Hence the word traffic. If you know what that word means, you look that up, what that word really goes into. Of galloping horses, it's more traffic. Horses, bringing in horses. Of clattering chariots, that's horses, traffic. When you go into a highway, that's all money right there. That's all traffic. People going to and fro from their job. Verse 3, horsemen in charge of a bright sword. And that's the prophecy that hasn't happened yet. The horsemen there with charge of a bright sword. The bright sword. That's how you know it's not talking about a literal sword, an ancient sword that's going into a modern day weapon today that's been prophesied. The bright sword, a glitter, also referenced as a glittering spear, as a thermonuclear missile, ICBM missile, and glittering spear. There is a multitude of slain, a great number of bodies, countless corpses. They stumble over the corpses because of the multitude of harlotries of the seductive harlot, the mistress of sorceries, and that's America today. Is mistress of sorceries, all the harvesting of organs and kidnappings you hear about of children and pedophilia and shit like that, and the symbolism, satanic symbolism you have in movies, logos, business logos all over your state, city, congressmen, your leaders, so-called leaders today. All of them are into that sorcery. Hence the mistress and the mistress. There's the main one is America, who sells nations through her harlotries. Because through America, that's what pushed these other nations to become the way they are today. America's the one who started that whole GMO and putting in the vegetable oils and all that, and setting up their fake ass school system in the draconian state. America's the one who spearheaded all of that, funded all of that. Hence why it's Jesus. That's what that means by sells nations through her harlotries and families through her witchcraft. So yeah. So that's why the Lord says here in verse 5, Behold, I am against you, says the Lord of hosts. I will lift up your skirts over your face. I will show the nations your nakedness, and the kingdoms your shame. I will cast the abominable filth upon you, make you bile, and make you a spectacle. And that's what America is right now, a spectacle. When they hear about how Americans ain't even making it over all the way over here, and they're them across the world, all the way down there in China, India, whatever, are making are living financially better. That's becoming a spectacle now because America was known as that place to go to for opportunities to make it. It's not any more of that anymore. 7, it shall come to pass that all who look upon you will flee from you and say, Nineveh is laid waste. Nineveh today is America. So you can use this, because you can use this for today as well. Who will bemoan her? Where shall I seek comforters for you? Yeah, no one's going to comfort America at this point. As it gets closer and closer to its demise. I saw a video, in prime example, this video that I saw, I think a brother was posted it. I forgot what brother. I don't know. I ain't good with names, so, but I forgot what brother posted this video. But it was going into how America basically, how from, let's see, like around about 13 years ago from today, 90% of people were proud to say they're Americans, and then they renewed the study again just to see, and now it was down to like 80% now. 80% of people are now were actually admitted to be proud of being American. So that's a 10% decrease. And honestly, it was probably less than that, but who knows? And it should be less than that, honestly speaking. I'm surprised wasn't less than that. It should have been like 60%. So we're just gonna have to see, man. All this shit is fading away now. It's been played out because of the wickedness and the lack of fear of the Lord upon this place. That's why it's been depleting. It's been demoralized. It's been broken up. Family, hence going all the way down, from all the way to the top, all the way down to your from all the way to the top, from the country itself, America's financial sector, banking sector, presidential sector, military sector, all the way down to the people, the average folks, and the family structure. It's been all demoralized and crippled and becoming exposed and shamed and public abuse in the eyes of everybody passing by the public, naked there as its punishment. Lord's making this bitch stand outside naked in handcuffs as a spectacle on top of the house. So that's what's been going on with America right now. And soon these nations are gonna betray it. Its own nations, its own allies, NATO is gonna betray it, break it, burn it. They're gonna burn the whore, betray the whore, hence Revelation 17:16 again. And that's why this is first. I'll continue and I'll get that next. And this is Nahum 3, still in the same chapter, Nahum 3, but on all the way on down, 19, the last verse here. Your injury has no healing. This is talking about America. Its injury has no healing. Your wound is severe. Severe means to cut. All who hear news of you will clap their hands over you. For upon whom has not your wickedness passed continually? You go back to Iraq, America once again. Its wickedness. What nation hasn't been victim of America's wickedness, oppression, fierce and oppressive power. Yeah, Iraq has, Afghanistan has, Somalia has. If I'm not mistaken, they've already taken Somalia. The only one that's left right now is Iran. Iran is the one nation that's left for America to take. But it's already taken Afghan. Because when you go back to the early 2000s, it all started with the 2000 invasion of a U.S. invasion. After 9/11, the invasion they took on Afghanistan, that all started the beginning to the third war. When you study it, when you go into it, if you those who don't know, it's really for y'all who don't know. When you go all into it, all started with that, and you have whistleblowers, ex general commanders of the U.S. that were in the U.S. military that came out and saw some documents, classified documents that you didn't even know about. People don't even know about. You have ex congressmen who came out and whistleblowed things, wrote books on it. They always write a book on it, and that goes into the scripture. Their own tongue shall fall upon themselves. But basically, this guy, whose name is Wesley Clark, went all into it, talking about these 7 nations that the U.S. plans to go and invade. God. So I got a video. And basically out of all those nations, it was Iraq. So they already took that. Syria, which when you go into it, as of early 2026, the relations is in a sensitive and evolving phase, moving away from confrontation toward a cautious, monitored, and potentially cooperative yet challenging partnership. Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. And Sudan still is kind of in between, half and half of Russia and half with U.S. Like countries like Sudan is half and half, and Syria is kind of like half and half, half in, half out. They've been supporting. They were supporting Iran for a minute, a couple months back. Now they've been a bit more silent. But that's all going into. But they almost at the same time they wanted to join BRICS back in 2024. That's Syria. Once again, they wanted to join BRICS. In Sudan, once again, that's Sudan. That's in the Arabia Peninsula as well. Oh no, well, not really. That's more of Ethiopia there, but that's all going into Ezekiel 38 as well, and all into second Esdras 15 as well, where these Saudi Arabia nations, Oman, Yemen, Kuwait, Jordan, Iraq, Kuwait, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan. That's all the Arabian Peninsula there, where those nations get together, join together. Azerbaijan, Syria. Yeah. So I personally believe that Syria and Sudan, they're gonna join war with this third war soon. They're gonna betray the whole America as well. And go into Lebanon. Relations between Israel and Lebanon are currently very poor and unstable. Yeah, Lebanon, that's another nation that was mentioned in that classified document given by exposed by was the whistleblower General Wesley K. Clark, who was a former NATO Supreme Allied Commander. Like that, Lebanon ain't really good with Israel right now, and if they ain't good with Israel, they're not gonna be good with U.S. automatically. So add the pieces together. That's Ezekiel 38 getting ready. That's second address 15 right there getting ready. They mentioned Libya. Libya is yeah, Libya is all the way, and that's Ethiopia. That's mentioned in Ezekiel 38. Right here, I just googled it. Is Libya anti-Israel? Because I'm not sure. I really ain't really too good at keeping up with this. So I put and they say yeah. I didn't know that. Yes, Libya is officially and functionally anti-Israel. So that's all Ezekiel 38 getting brewed up right there. Somalia, that's Ethiopia as well. It's next to Ethiopia right there. And it's mentioned again in Ezekiel 38 as well. That was mentioned in number 6 on the 7 nations that Wesley Clark exposed once again. Somalia. No, Salaki, that was numbers 5. So, yeah. So essentially, when I looked it all up and went all into it. And when you go into each one of these nations, what I noticed, bro, is each one of them is anti-Israel. Each one of those 7 nations that this whistleblower Wesley Clark came out about during 9/11, post 9/11. This document his officer gave him. What was it? That's what this guy, Wesley Clark, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, whistleblower, came out and said. Come. Yeah, so he's really not considered a whistleblower more than a high-ranking military official. But he is recognized as discussing controversial topics, such as post 9/11, specifically that one, post 9/11 military planning. His actions and public statements often align with authorized commentary or post-service reflections. So yeah, he's not really. I guess he got a smack in the hand. He compared to other people that have gotten scrutinized and more so like that. He got more lucky, I guess. But yeah, man, that's what that is. And I looked up all these nations he mentioned, first with Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and ending with Iran. We're in that stage right now with Iran. And when you go into all these nations, especially since the Israel-Palestine war started back in early 2024. Yeah, early 2024. Late 2023, early 2024. Or it could have been late 2024. I'm not sure when it started, but I forgot. But all those nations are anti-Israel, and all those nations they're already in league with the beast. They're already in league and made a pact with the devils, the Amalekites. See, and the reason why Israel is so important to the Amalekites is because they are Amalek. They are the fake Jews. And that's all goes back to. And this is all falling in line with 2nd Esdras 15. And when you read the letter, the document that Mazzini, however the fuck you say that weird ass name. He wrote to Albert Pike, or a letter Albert Pike wrote to that motherfucker back in 818, some shit, early 1900s. The nigga Albert Pike that wrote that shit. And you add it in line with Second Edges 15, added in line with Revelation 11 and 14, added in line with the Israel-Palestine war going on right now. And when you look up each one of those nations that I just mentioned, that Wesley Clark exposed, and what an official joint staff official blurred out to him on a document, starting with Iraq, Somalia, Sudan, Lebanon, Syria, whatever else I forgot, and ending with Iran. Add it all with this right here. Add it all with this. War, like war. Add that all with Exodus 17 and 16. For he said, because the Lord Yahweh Shah has sworn that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. That's why they're calling themselves the fake Jews. That's why they're calling themselves the Jews. Amshel Rothschild was a Jew. And then when you watch the movie The Rothschilds or some shit, how the family of the House of Rothschilds, old ass movie, 1936 movie, whatever the fuck. You can see why it's so important to them, bro. Why it's so important to them for the U.S. to keep funding this little ass nation called Israel. You can see why it's that important to them. Okay, because they know their father was a fake ass Jew, and they did it when he died. He told him to make their nation strong. We are Jews. The Jew fights with money. The Jew fights with money. Make our nation strong with money. The Jew will fight. He told him something like that. So anyway, this is Revelation 2 and 2 and 9. I know there works in tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich, and I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. God. And that's how Albert Pike said that this third war was gonna be brought about through Islamic war, basically. The third, it says something like the third war shall be fought with through its Islamic nations, something like that. And then it goes with all falls right in line with that other scripture. The least of the flock shall draw them out. God. So I got some articles now. This is really what I wanted to get. That was a lot of hard work I just had to do there. Just took up a lot of my time, but this is really what I wanted to get, the articles here. That's what whoever doesn't know or whoever needs a refresher who already should know about that. Just to refresh you, or if you don't know, now you know, buddy. This is from the WSJ.com. It says U.S. arms sale to Taiwan in limbo. We read that already. This one right here, it says over 1,000 Kenyans enlisted to fight in Russia-Ukraine war, report says. So this is the third war right here. A total of 1,000 Kenyans have been recruited to fight for Russia, according to Kenyan intelligence report that details a network of rogue officials allegedly colliding with human trafficking syndicates. Okay, so that's more in Ezekiel 38. U.S. could strike Iran. Here's how Tehran is getting prepared. Let's check this out. As the United States continues its significant military buildup in the Middle East, Iran has taken steps to signal its readiness for war, including fortifying its nuclear sites and rebuilding missile production facilities. Iranian and U.S. negotiators held indirect talks in Geneva for 3.5 hours on Tuesday, but it ended with no clear resolution. Iran's top diplomat Abbas, however the fuck you say that, said both sides agreed on a set of guiding principles. But U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said the Iranians had not acknowledged red lines set by U.S. President Donald Trump. So yeah, that's all brewing up. They're preparing for war. Tehran is preparing. U.S. said they could strike Iran. The White House has been briefed on that the U.S. military could be ready for an attack by the weekend after a buildup in recent days of air and naval assets in the Middle East. Sources familiar with the matter told CNN. Amid the threat of war, Iran has spent recent months repairing key missile facilities and heavily damaged air bases while further concealing its nuclear program. It has appointed war veterans to its national security structures, conducted maritime war games in the Persian Gulf, and launched an intense crackdown on domestic dissent. Repairs. In June last year, Israel launched a surprise attack on Iran that destroyed parts of its nuclear program, severely damaged missile production sites, and killed key military commanders. Over the ensuing 12-day conflict, Iran retaliated by launching hundreds of missiles and drones at Israel's cities, while the U.S. struck 3 Iranian nuclear sites, with U.S. President Donald Trump claiming they had been totally obliterated. Western nations have consistently failed to persuade Iran to curb its missile program, which Tehran regards as a central pillar of its military strength and a right to its self-defense. Satellite imagery analysis reveals that Iran has rebuilt damaged missile facilities. That's how they've been preparing. So this is already brewing up. This is intensifying. And a couple days ago, you had them do a joint exercises.
Military air power in the Middle East, and at any time since the 2003 invasion of Iraq, the U.S. now has more military.
It says Iran beholds joint military exercises with Russia amid renewed threats from Trump. This was on the 19th. This was like 2 days ago.
Air power in the Middle East, and at any time since the 2003 invasion of Iraq, that according to the Wall Street Journal. And with a second aircraft carrier on its way tonight, the White House appears prepared for the possibility of a weeks-long war with Iran if ongoing nuclear talks fall through. Here's Charlie D'Agata.
The Iranian Navy held joint exercises with Russian ships today, a show of force in the face of renewed threats of military action from President Trump, who has warned the regime it must curb its nuclear program.
They must make a deal, or if that doesn't happen, I maybe can understand. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, but bad things will happen if it doesn't.
The president has sent an armada of naval ships to the Middle East, including 2 aircraft carriers and several destroyers armed with cruise missiles. Military planners have given the president a range of options, from airstrikes on regime targets to its ballistic missile stockpiles to going after.
If it doesn't.
The president has sent an armada of naval ships to the Middle East, including 2 aircraft carriers and several destroyers armed with cruise missiles. Military planners have given the president a range of options, from airstrikes on regime targets to its ballistic missile stockpiles.
Yeah, man. If the U.S. decides to strike Iran, I think Russia's gonna get involved even more. I'm pretty sure Russia's gonna shoot a missile at the U.S. But before all this happens, man, the mark of the beast has to come. So just off that alone, I don't think anything's really gonna come off of this. I think this is really just the elites preparing, staging this shit because it's all a fake war anyway. I don't think Iran's actually. I don't think the puppet. I don't think the president of Iran is calling any shots. I'm sure he's already made a deal with the devil, and he already knows when and where this is actually gonna pop off, and he's gonna be safe. I really think this is just the elites warming it up and showing it on the news so people can start um, gradually getting introduced to this. So when it fully comes, they're not surprised. They're not surprised. I mean, they know these people with all this going on right now. These people are still pretty stupid. They're still in that illusion of their regular 9 to 5 and getting their little dreams uh saving up to get their dream vacation and shit, and all that shit is dead already, man. All that shit is dead already, man. Man, why would you want to go on a vacation here in the U.S. America right now, with streets full of piss and broken ass fucking glass everywhere? You want to take wedding photos downtown with broken ass glass everywhere? Every motherfuckers is homeless is increasing, and they're starting to move in downtown, man. Live in your downtown. You want to take Edomites are focusing on getting married and getting married here, man. You can barely afford a decent meal. Takeout, DoorDash here in America right now. The way things is moving. Jake is still focused on this bitch. With broken glass everywhere, shit and piss everywhere, man. Like like Grandmaster Funk said in that song, broken glass everywhere, piss in the streets and could barely move. Cracked pipes and heroin syringes all on the ground, bro. Dog piss and spit everywhere, bro. This is what you're focused on to live in here, man. If you're president here.
To going after what's left of Iran's nuclear facilities. Last June, the president said U.S. strikes completely destroyed 3 nuclear sites.
Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier.
The Trump administration believes Tehran still has hundreds of kilograms of enriched uranium and intends to build a nuclear weapon. Any strikes on Iran risk retaliation.
The Iranians still have a very substantial stock of short-range missiles. They can fight back. They can absolutely fight back, and they can fight back at the kinds of targets where there are significant American assets.
So let me get the scripture now, and then I'm gonna look up how Russia's been getting involved in the situation. Russia's actually been pretty quiet with this whole thing, and once again, I personally don't think, and I think there might be a little bit more strikes, little squabbles here and there still throughout this whole year. I do expect this conflict, us to hear more about this Israel going back, Iran going back and forth right now this year. I do expect that. But I don't personally don't think it's gonna. I think it's gonna be like just a little bit more turned up than last year, but I don't think it's gonna escalate that far yet. And once again, the mark of the beast still has to come out. It hasn't came out yet. So why would the Lord just pop shit off already, just like this already? You should know this by now. Let's see. Like the brother mentioned, how this shit dies down and does it die down right now? I'm not gonna mention what brother, but the brother said it. Well, you should remember, buddy. Remember, the Mark of the Beast still has to come out, so don't expect anything big to happen just yet. Second there's 15. Because it also mentions here how eventually, though, right now it looks like all those ships, all those are armada. That was an armada. An armada is a fleet of ships. How many ships did Trump send to Iran? As of February 2026, the Trump administration has deployed a massive naval force to the Middle East, with reports indicating 10 to 14 U.S. warships, including 2 aircraft carrier strike groups, the USS Abraham Lincoln and USS Gerald R. Ford, aimed at increasing pressure on Iran regarding its nuclear program. Reports as of February 19th to the 20th, 2026 indicate up to 14 ships. This one says up to 14 are in the area, including cruisers and destroyers. Additional assets, the naval presence is bolstered by dozens of fighter jets as well, including F-35s, F-22s, and F-15s positioned in the region. So Trump ain't playing, man. Eat her. Oh no, that's Esau for you. Eat him. Esau, eat him. His blessing is the sword. But Ishmael is also kind of blessed with a sword, his own blessing as well. So I mean, that's not a bad look for U.S. right now. I would say that's not a bad look. It kind of does make Iran look like a weakling, because all those ships and all them F-35s, dozens of fighter jets Trump just sent over there as well. Along with that, then plus on top of it is this buildup is described as the largest in the region since 2003. With the goal of providing substantial firepower if strikes are ordered. But eventually, this is where this prophecy comes. This is where this scripture I got pulled up, I want to bring comes into play here. Which will come to play in real life soon. Where eventually the Lord is gonna put it in the spirit of Assyria there, Iran and all its allies. It's eventually gonna, that our Ishmaelite nations eventually gonna join up with their Iranian brothers, the Assyrian Brotherhood. In 2nd Esdras 15 and verse, I'll start at 32. Then these shall be troubled and keep silence through their power and shall flee. Actually, I'll start at 28. And beholding a horrible vision and the appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. They're going to fear and tremble by hearing of Iran, what they got. How they're gonna become in the 30. Also the Carmanians. Carmanians is another word for Iranians. That's Iran today. Also they used to be called Assyrians. The Carmanians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. That's the Iranians, Assyrians, Carmanians. So they're going to come raging in wrath. That's what their weapons, their missiles. And with great power. Because once again, they got Russia, they got China to join up with them. And join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. So their land is going to be wasted and destroyed. That land, those lands over there, and they're near the Middle East, are going to be fucked up. 31. And then shall the dragons have the upper hand. The dragons, once again, that's Iran, and all their members, all their alliances is going to eventually join them, remembering their nature. And if they shall turn themselves. And we saw a prelude to that last year around July or something like that, with a 12-day war that they had when they shot back at Israel. They said they shot at them. Yeah, it was over the ensuing 12-day conflict. Iran retaliated by launching hundreds. Yeah, Israel started the attack in June last year, June 2025. Last year, Israel launched a surprise attack. That was on at night. If you remember, it was at night. We saw certain videos of it on Iran that was to destroy parts of its nuclear program. And then Iran, we saw a prelude to their wild nature of Ishmael, Iran, their wild nature, by retaliating back, launching hundreds of missiles and drones at Israeli cities. And that's how you know this war ain't really real either. Because if it was really up to Esau, he would have destroyed all Iran by now. By this point, he would have destroyed that whole shit already. But see, that's how you know this war is fake, though. This war is fake. It's not no real war. It's a fake ass war, man. Okay, which is a joke. Back in the day, it was an actual real warfare, and you would actually have real casualties, real bodies being dropped left and right. You see, with this fake ass war, man, it's not even like that. I don't even think that it's even like that right now. I mean, soon it is gonna be like that, but that's through the spirit of Yahweh Shemashah that's gonna make it like that, because this shit is gonna reach here to America, and what motherfuckers here in America is actually gonna starve. There's gonna be real starvation eventually. But I'm just saying right now what this war is with Israel Iran. That's just what I'm saying right now with that. It's not even what it's. That's not even close to the real wars you would have had back in the time. But eventually, when the real deal happens, though, you're gonna know, where everybody's gonna know. Everyone's gonna know. That's in Revelation 3:10. The hour of temptation. The hour of temptation. The hour of temptation. So going back to 2 Corinthians 15:31, conspiring together in great power to persecute them, remembering their nature, and if they shall turn themselves. 32. Then these shall be troubled blood and keep silence through their power and shall flee, and from the land of the Assyrians shall the enemy besiege them. Then shall they be troubled blood and keep silence through power and fear. I'm gonna get this in the GNT, starting in verse 31 on the top. Actually, in 30, verse 30, the Carmanians will come out of the forest in a fierce rage, like wild boars advancing in full strength to attack the dragons. With their tusks, they will tear up a large part of Assyria. Yeah, that's Babylon going against Babylon. America coming into their land and attacking. Like you see them getting. I can see it getting warmed up right now. But 31. But the dragons will unite their forces. That's Ishmael, regain their former strength and win the victory. They will turn and pursue the wild boars. And that's Ishmael coming up, getting the upper hand in this war eventually. when it starts getting real. Right now, it's not all the way real yet. 32 who will be thrown into panic, beaten into silence, and forced to turn and run. Yeah, eventually they're going to be whooping the U.S. and its ally, U.S. America's ass. But then it says 33, the wild boars will be ambushed in Assyria. Yeah, U.S. is going to go into Assyria, but they're going to get fucked up somehow, some way. And one of them will be killed. This will bring fear and panic to their army and indecision to their kings. Then suddenly clouds, those clouds are missiles, terrible, angry storm clouds will cover the sky from one end to the other. They will collide head on and release their violence upon earth. The blood of war will be as deep as a horse's belly. 36, or someone's thigh or a camel's knee. Everywhere on earth, people will tremble in fear at the horrible sight. Then great storm clouds, the missiles once again, or those storm clouds, will move from the north and the south, and others from the west. That's missiles from all these nations, Russia, China, U.S., but the winds from the east will prevail and push back those angry storm clouds that were about to bring destruction. 40 to 41, huge, powerful, angry storm clouds will arise and ruin the whole world and its people. Yeah, these missiles are going to be destroying a lot of places. A terrible storm of fire, hail, and flash and swords. Those nuclear missiles will come sweeping down on those who have power and authority on these nations. Every river will overflow into the fields, and the floods will demolish cities, wells, mountains, hills, forests, and crops. These missiles in this war is going to destroy everything. This is describing the third war more specifically. Revelation 11 and 14 just says the third war is coming. But 2nd Ezra 15 here, verse 26 on down to 45, or on down to the last verse, is describing it in detail. 43 to 44 in the GNT of 2nd Ezra 15. This destruction will press on until it reaches Babylon, and until eventually, because this third war, eventually the whole point of it is to bring those 200 million missiles to be brought over here to America, to destroy America with 200 million missiles. Eventually, that's really the first step to that happening. The first step to that happening is Iran going into it with the U.S. U.S. stepping into Iran, and the shit popping off from there. The U.S. military is going to step in Iran and step in into their territory, and then they're going to be get their ass whipped by Iran, because they got Russia with them, they got China with them, they're going to have other Ishmaelite nations eventually, I believe, reject America and join what they brought us, all the other Ishmaelite brethren, Islamic brothers, the Assyrian Brotherhood, you can call them. This destruction will press on until it reaches Babylon and engulfs it in a raging storm. That raging storm is going to be the 200 million missiles described in Revelation 9. Yeah. Brewing, the dust and the smoke will form a great cloud reaching to the sky, and all the neighboring cities will mourn for Babylon. That's going into Revelation 18 when they said mourn for Babylon. They see the smoke of her burning. That aligns right in with that. That's how you know 2nd Ezra is Canaan. Canaan. 45. Anyone who survives will become a slave to those who destroy the city. And who's going to become the slaves? That's going to be you heathens that are not of the stock of Yahushua in that time and that day. You're not investing in the stock of Yahushua. You're not a part of the stock. You haven't. The Lord ain't even give you $1 or a penny to invest in Yahushua stock. So those who ain't invested in the stock right now, this stock of Yahushua, penny stock, soon going to become a multi-septillion stock. If you ain't investing in it already right now, you've been given the money to invest. The father ain't even give you $1 to invest in his son's stock. You're gonna becoming a slave. Guess what? You're gonna have no stock. You're gonna have no stocks, man. Yep. They ain't gonna have no stocks, so that's really the point on that. I'll get another article here. So that's what this is all going into. This whole Iran-U.S. situation right now.
There's more military air power in the Middle East than it. Short-range missiles. They can fight back. They can absolutely fight back, and they can fight back at the kinds of targets where there are significant American assets.
We're learning tonight that Iran sent a letter to the UN Secretary General saying if attacked, Iran will respond and, quote, all bases, facilities, and assets of the hostile force in the region will be legitimate targets.
This one article says what Iran's naval exercise of China and Russia in the Strait of Hormuz actually means. This is as the U.S. flows assets toward the Middle East, including the Gerald R. Ford carrier strike group, now reportedly off the Moroccan coast. Iran, China, and Russia will hold their recurring joint naval training exercise in the Strait of Hormuz. This was on the 18th, like 3 days ago. According to Iranian media, Moscow and Tehran see the Maritime Security Belt 2026 exercise as particularly relevant in light of current events. And there are reasons for the White House and Pentagon to take note. Having Russia or Chinese warships in these waters amid a U.S. attack on Iran could have military and political implications. Planners must address at the same time the timing of the still ongoing U.S. buildup and the exercise point to it having more of a messaging effect than an operational one. The exercise, first held in 2019, is being hosted in the southern Iranian port city of Bandar Abbas, located on the Strait of Hormuz. Russia, Chinese, and Iranian naval units are expected to participate, with various ships and operational capabilities to test coordination, tactical readiness, and rapid response. The Islamic Republic of Iran has faced threats, noise, propaganda, and the presence of extra-regional fleets in West Asia for 47 years. We will tap into the potential of BRICS, which should now be given a full-fledged strategic maritime dimension. But both Russia and Iran say the exercise will increase their ability to work together. Alright, so however it goes, which I don't believe it's gonna. I don't believe anything. I would advise you not to expect anything major to happen with this. Which I personally don't. That's just me. I already gave my predictions on how this is gonna go. I don't believe it. I don't believe the market's gonna crash this year. I don't believe World War III is gonna happen this year. But I do see the market crashing possibly late next year or early 2028, mid 2028, and World War III breaking off 2028, middle of 2028, early 2028. I'll be surprised if it doesn't break out. World War III doesn't break out in early 2028. When the stock and the economy crashing in late 2027. I'll be surprised if it doesn't happen by then, but I wouldn't expect nothing like that this year. But I do expect some shit to actually happen this year that that we did not see last year now. Because the Lord is gonna turn this bitch upside down. He is gonna turn this whole upside down, and this place is definitely gonna get judged. It's already set for judgment. So some shit will happen this year. It could be a blackout. Because we already saw it a couple of days ago with the YouTube shutting down. So it's not nothing that's gonna be light.
The U.S. now has more military air power in the Middle East than at any time since the 2003 invasion of Iraq, that according to the Wall Street Journal. And with a second aircraft carrier on its way tonight, the U.S. now has more military air power in the Middle East than at any time since the 2003 invasion of Iraq, that according to the Wall Street Journal. And with a second aircraft carrier on its way tonight, the U.S. now has more military air power in the Middle East than at any time since the 2003 invasion of Iraq, that according to the Wall Street Journal. And with a second aircraft carrier on its way tonight, the White House appears prepared for the possibility of a weeks-long war with Iran if ongoing nuclear talks fall through. Here's Charlie D'Agata.
The Iranian Navy held joint exercises with Russian ships today, a show of force in the face of renewed threats of military action from President Trump, who has warned the regime it must curb its nuclear program.
They must make a deal, or if that doesn't happen, I maybe can understand. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, but...
Armed with cruise missiles. The president has sent an armada of naval ships to the Middle East, including 2 aircraft carriers
That's like 17 ships right there.
and several destroyers armed with cruise missiles.
Cooperation between the fleets of the readiness to strike Iran, Tehran and Moscow announced joint naval exercises. Iranian Rear Admiral Hassan Maksudlu said the maneuvers will begin on...
It says here in this video, Russia concentrates troops around Iran, Moscow action to protect Tehran from U.S. attacks. The Kremlin is likely taking steps to prevent U.S. President Donald Trump's administration from launching a potential military operation against Iran. That's what I want to do here. As of February 2026, Russia is actively supporting Iran against the U.S. military buildup in the Middle East by conducting joint naval drills in the Gulf of Oman, strengthening strategic ties and warning against the U.S. aggression. Moscow is reinforcing its alliance with Tehran while urging restraint to avoid a wider conflict. So I just googled this. Does Russia have a military presence near Iran right now? It says right here, yes, Russia currently has a military presence near Iran, notably engaging in joint naval drills in the Gulf of Oman and the Strait of Hormuz as of February 19th to 20th. Beyond the Gulf, Russia has proposed additional joint naval exercises in the Caspian Sea with Iran, Azerbaijan, and Kazakhstan for 2026 to secure regional maritime economic infrastructure. So that's what you have going on right now.
Thursday and will take place in the Sea of Oman and the Northern Indian Ocean. Mayor reports the main objective.
So I would think Russia still has their Navy military presence over there. Yes, Russia, China, and Iran have deployed warships to the Strait of Hormuz in the northern Indian Ocean for joint naval exercises. So yeah, that's still happening right now. Started on the 18th. That was on Wednesday. Started on the Wednesday. Fuck. God.
Of the exercises will be to develop cooperation between the fleets of the two countries and enhance the sustainability of maritime security in the region. One of the key objectives of the maneuvers is coordinating actions to counter threats at sea. Specifically, Russian and Iranian military personnel will practice protecting merchant vessels and security in the region. One of the key objectives of the maneuvers is coordinating actions to counter threats at sea. Specifically, Russian and Iranian military personnel will practice protecting merchant vessels and oil tankers, joint actions against maritime terrorism, and exchanging operational skills during maritime operations. 5,000 drones of various types, defense systems such as at 2,500 to 3,000. In the event of a conflict, these missiles could be used to 2026 craft. In addition to relatively adequate air defense, Tehran boasts significant missile stockpiles. As of February 2026, Iran's ballistic missile arsenal is estimated at 2,500 to 3,000. In the event of a conflict, these missiles could be used to strike American military bases in the Middle East. Furthermore, Iran is capable of launching 200 to 400 missiles and drones in a single attack wave, hoping to overwhelm U.S. air defense systems such as the Patriot and Aegis. The country also possesses between 3,500 and 5,000 drones of various types, a significant number of which are Shahed-class suicide drones.
God damn.
Islamic Republic moving military assets while the U.S. ramps up its presence. One expert claims Iran is repositioning strike drones under the cover of these joint drills with Russia. Brett Velikovich is a Fox News contributor, former special operations intel analyst and drone expert, and he joins me now. Brett, good morning to you. So yesterday we learned about these joint Russia-Iran exercises, and now we have Cameron Schell of defense firm Dragonfly, who tells Fox News the Russia drills would cover for the Iranian forces to move their drones into the strike position. Let's
make a deal, or if that doesn't happen, maybe.
Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst is in. That was President Trump saying that diplomacy is still on the table with Iran, but a recent surge of military might in the Middle East has analysts bracing for a potential strike. Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst is in Tel Aviv with the latest details. Trey.
Emily, good afternoon. The surge of U.S. military assets to the Middle East is the largest since the 2003 invasion of Iraq. More U.S. military equipment is on its way to the region right now. And we do know the world's largest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, is now arriving in the Mediterranean Sea.
So that's the point, Shalom. And I'll close out with this scripture here. But the point has been made. Isaiah 22:2, your city is full of the noise of parties, and people are shouting. It was not war that killed the people that who are lying in your streets. They did not die in a battle. When the enemy came, all your leaders ran far away. The enemy caught all your people. They caught them all, and they did not need to shoot any arrows. That's what's gonna happen, basically. In certain cases, and it's literal too. The nationals that are here, the Hamite and Moabite nationals, foreign armies that's here, agents that are here already. They're gonna be in here. Motherfuckers have already had dreams of these Russian troops being in America, Chinese troops being in America, seeing Chinese fighter jets flying above America, above the soils of America, the territory of America. They're gonna catch a lot of you people and put y'all in concentration camps. Maybe some of the elect. They might kill some of us, some of the elect. They caught them all, and they did not need to shoot any arrows. So I say, leave me alone, let me weep with many tears. The enemy has killed many of my people, so do not try to comfort me. And they, in certain cases, in most cases, a lot of these Chinese troops, they're gonna kill a lot of Israelites, a lot of the Lord's people, as judgment, if they haven't repented. But the elect shall receive mercy, wherever they are. So if that is the point of the lesson, hopefully this is edifying. So next time, Lord willing. Shalom and a bar.